It began with a single photograph, an old family picture that Charlie Kirk's parents, Robert and Julie Kirk, thought the world had forgotten. But when that image resurfaced online last week, showing Erika standing awkwardly to the side, her eyes avoiding Charlie's mother's glare, fans began asking questions that the Kirks had avoided for years. Why did they never trust Erika Kirk? And what really happened behind those spotless family portraits that Charlie loved to share? According to insiders close to the Kirk family, the tension didn't start overnight. It started the very moment Charlie brought Erika home for the first time. Julie Kirk, who has always been fiercely protective of her son, reportedly whispered to a friend that she felt something was off about Erika's energy. Robert, on the other hand, tried to stay neutral. But even he couldn't ignore the subtle power struggle that began brewing between his wife and Erika. What appeared to be polite smiles in public masked months of quiet resentment, controlling behavior, and private confrontations that would eventually tear the family apart. Things took a darker turn during the early days of Turning Point USA's rise. As Charlie became one of the most recognized conservative voices in America, his relationship with Erika turned from a love story into a battlefield of influence. Sources close to the couple claim that Erika began managing not just his public image but his personal life, deciding who he could speak to, what family gatherings he should skip, and even how his parents were portrayed in interviews. Fans who once saw her as the perfect partner now question whether Erika was quietly pulling strings behind the scenes. But it was one particular holiday dinner, years before their marriage, that reportedly marked the breaking point. Julie Kirk, tired of the icy politeness, finally confronted Erika about her intentions with Charlie. Voices were raised, plates clattered, and what should have been a warm family moment turned into a shouting match that left everyone in tears. "You don't love him, you love what he gives you," Julie allegedly snapped, her voice trembling. Erika, keeping her composure, replied, "You've never given him the respect he deserves." From that night on, Robert and Julie Kirk kept their distance, and though Charlie tried to mediate, the damage was already done. Now, after years of silence, the Kirk parents have finally decided to speak out, and what they've revealed has left fans absolutely stunned. They claim their silence was a form of protection. But now that the truth is surfacing, they believe the world deserves to hear what really went on behind those closed doors. The confession that's coming next is raw, emotional, and shocking because, according to them, Erika wasn't just a problem. She was the reason the family nearly fell apart. And the truth they're about to reveal will change how you see the Kirk family forever. In the weeks following that viral photograph, whispers around the Kirk household began to sound more like storm warnings than family gossip. Julie Kirk had spent years trying to keep the peace, but her silence had grown heavy. According to a close family acquaintance, she had written a series of letters to Charlie during his early relationship with Eric, letters that were never answered. She felt ignored, the source said quietly, like her son had traded his family for a brand. Charlie, caught between loyalty and ambition, often brushed off the tension as miscommunication, but everyone close to him knew it was more than that. Every time Julie and Erika were in the same room, the temperature dropped. The politeness was there, but the warmth was gone. Erika was polished, graceful, and in public, effortlessly supportive of Charlie's rising career. But behind the scenes, staff at Turning Point USA allegedly began noticing how involved she had become in decisions that didn't concern her. One assistant recalled Erika insisting that Charlie cancel a speaking engagement because the optics weren't right. When Robert Kirk heard about it, he reportedly told a friend, "My son's voice doesn't sound like his anymore." The comment was brushed aside at the time, but looking back, it foreshadowed the quiet battle for control that would define the next few years. Things came to a head one summer evening at a family fundraiser in Arizona. Julie had been preparing for weeks, inviting old friends and mentors from Charlie's early career days. She wanted to celebrate her son, not his image. But when Erika arrived, wearing an immaculate white dress and her signature poised smile, everything shifted. Several guests later described the room's energy as uncomfortable. Julie made a speech about family values and the roots that hold us together. And though she never mentioned Erika by name, her message was unmistakable. Erika, sitting beside Charlie, didn't flinch. She just crossed her legs and whispered something under her breath that made Charlie's expression change instantly. Within minutes, he excused himself from the table, saying he had a press matter to handle. He didn't return for the rest of the evening. That was the night Robert decided enough was enough. He waited until the guests had left and found Charlie outside by the pool, staring at his phone. "Son," he said quietly, "you're losing yourself." Charlie's response was sharp, almost rehearsed. "No, Dad, I'm growing up. You just can't handle that." The conversation ended with Robert walking back inside, shaking his head, while Julie sat in the kitchen wiping tears she refused to let fall. Fans who saw photos of the event later online would never have guessed the chaos behind the smiles. They called the couple powerful, perfect, unshakable, but behind those carefully staged photos, the family had begun to fracture. In the months that followed, communication between Charlie and his parents became rare. Julie's calls went unanswered, texts ignored. Robert tried to mediate, suggesting they all have dinner and clear the air. Charlie agreed until Erika allegedly convinced him it was not the right time. Those words would become a pattern, repeated over and over whenever reconciliation was near. Julie confided to a close friend that she feared losing her son completely. "He doesn't hear me anymore," she said. "It's like someone rewired him." The situation escalated during the planning of Charlie and Erika's engagement party. Julie offered to host, eager to mend things and show support despite her unease. Erika, however, declined the offer, saying she wanted a smaller, more exclusive celebration. That decision cut deeply. Robert tried to reason with Charlie, asking him to consider how his mother felt. Charlie defended Erika, insisting it was her day and her choice. "Mom's making this about her," he said, his voice rising. "Why can't she just let us be happy?" Julie overheard that conversation, and those words stayed with her like a bruise that never healed. As preparations for the engagement continued, tension turned to avoidance. Julie attended only because she didn't want rumors to start. But insiders noticed she stayed seated most of the night, barely speaking to the bride-to-be. One photographer even mentioned that Julie avoided standing too close to Erika during group shots. The image that made it online showed them side by side, smiling faintly. But according to witnesses, Julie left minutes after the photo was taken. In the days following the event, tabloid whispers began circulating. Fans noticed how Charlie's tone online had changed, softer toward Erika, sharper toward his critics. People began asking if someone else was managing his posts. One insider close to the couple hinted that Erika had begun reviewing every message before it went public. "She's smart," the source said, "but she's protective to the point of control." Julie saw the signs too, but her warnings went ignored. She sent one final message before the wedding, saying, "I just want you to remember who you were before the cameras." Charlie never replied. The wedding itself was a spectacle of wealth and precision. From the outside, it was perfection: white roses, candlelit vows, and an endless stream of influencers and politicians smiling for the cameras. But inside, family friends noticed the absence of emotion between Erika and the Kirks. Julie sat through the ceremony in silence, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her expression unreadable. Robert tried to keep his composure, but he could see what his wife saw, a distance that no celebration could disguise. After the ceremony, when Erika approached Julie for the customary hug, Julie stepped back slightly, offering only a polite nod. It was subtle, but to those who knew the family well, it spoke volumes. After the honeymoon, things seemed to stabilize, or so fans believed. Charlie and Erika appeared at events together, shared devotion-filled posts, and presented themselves as a united front. Yet, behind the scenes, Robert and Julie had stopped visiting entirely. Calls went unanswered, invitations ignored. At Thanksgiving, when Julie sent a handwritten card, it was returned unopened. Address unknown. The envelope read, though everyone knew it had been delivered to the right place. What finally broke Julie's silence was not anger, it was fear. According to a family insider, Julie had learned that Erika had begun restricting who could contact Charlie directly. Even old mentors and friends who had known him since his early Turning Point days. It wasn't just about control anymore, the source claimed. It was isolation. When Julie confronted her son about it, he dismissed her concerns as paranoia. "You're overreacting, Mom," he said during one of their last phone calls. "Erika just wants peace." Julie's response was simple but cutting. "Peace without family isn't peace at all." The line reportedly left Charlie silent for several seconds before he ended the call abruptly. Friends close to the Kirks noticed the change immediately. Julie, once outspoken and vibrant, withdrew from public life. Robert became protective of her, refusing interviews and declining invitations to political gatherings. They were tired, one friend said, tired of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. But even then, neither of them publicly criticized Eric until now. When the photograph resurfaced last week and reignited online speculation, the couple decided to tell their side. They were no longer afraid of what might follow. As the news began spreading, fans took sides. Some defended Erika, calling the accusations exaggerated family drama. Others claimed they had noticed the signs all along. Social media flooded with old clips of Charlie and his parents from years ago, pointing out how his tone had softened after marriage, how his parents' appearances in his life had quietly disappeared. The narrative began to shift. For the first time, people weren't just questioning Erika, they were questioning the story. The public had been told about the perfect Kirk family, and as all eyes turned toward Robert and Julie's long-awaited statement, a question hung in the air. What could possibly have been so serious, so personal, that it fractured a family that once seemed unbreakable? The answer, according to them, wasn't about fame or politics. It was about trust that was given, broken, and never earned back. And as they began to reveal their truth, the world realized this was more than a family feud. It was the unraveling of an illusion that had been years in the making. Robert Kirk's voice trembled slightly when he finally sat down for the interview that would change everything. It wasn't a television network or a high-profile journalist. It was a friend of the family, someone who had watched the Kirks build their legacy from the ground up. Robert leaned forward, his hands clasped, eyes heavy with exhaustion. "We stayed quiet because we thought it would protect him," he said softly. "But silence can protect the wrong person too." That sentence was the spark that ignited a firestorm online. Within hours, clips of the interviews spread across social media. Fans were stunned, some refusing to believe what they heard, others claiming they always knew something was wrong. Julie sat beside him during the recording, her expression firm but emotional. "A mother knows when something isn't right," she said. "You can ignore it, you can smile through it, but you can't unfeel it." The story they told next felt like something pulled from a reality show. Robert explained that during the early years of Charlie's marriage, he and Julie began noticing inconsistencies in how Charlie spoke about his work. It wasn't his words anymore, Robert recalled. He started using phrases, ideas, even beliefs that weren't his. When the interviewer asked who was influencing him, Julie didn't hesitate. "Erika," she said flatly. She had her reasons. "Control is a kind of love for some people." The room fell silent. Julie's words lingered in the air, and even the interviewer seemed unsure how to continue. What followed was a series of revelations that no fan saw coming. The Kirks claimed that Erika often intercepted Charlie's correspondence, choosing which messages he saw. She reportedly changed schedules without consulting him and even instructed his team to avoid scheduling family-related appearances. When asked for proof, Robert referenced messages between former assistants and his wife's screenshots that showed clear instructions from Erika limiting contact. "It wasn't speculation," he said. "It was calculated." The fallout from that statement was immediate. Within hours, social media was ablaze. Hashtags demanding justice for the Kirks began trending, and fans divided themselves into camps. Those defending Charlie's loyalty to his wife, and those accusing Erika of manipulating him for image control. Even within political circles, whispers began spreading. Some insiders claimed that Erika's involvement had created internal tension at Turning Point USA. "She's smart, she's polished," one anonymous staffer said, "but she's not easy to challenge. Even Charlie defers to her." Behind the scenes, the situation became even more personal. Family friends who had once attended Kirk gatherings said they'd stopped receiving invitations. After Erika took over managing their social calendar, one by one, the old friends disappeared, said a neighbor who'd known them for over 20 years. They replaced them with people who were always on brand, always saying the right thing. Julie, who had once hosted open family dinners filled with laughter and music, described those years as quiet and cold. The emotional toll on Julie became clear as the interview continued. Her voice cracked when she described the first Christmas after Charlie's marriage. "I baked his favorite cookies," she said. "He didn't come. He texted me at midnight and said they were too busy. I cried myself to sleep that night." Her words struck a chord across the internet. Thousands of comments poured in from viewers saying they saw their own family struggles in her pain. Others accused her of but regardless of which side people took, no one could deny that the perfect Kirk family image had shattered. Charlie, however, remained silent. No statement, no post, no denial. That silence only made the speculation grow. Some claimed Erika was preventing him from speaking. Others believed he was simply too ashamed to address it publicly. But one insider hinted that Charlie had reached out privately to his parents before the interview aired, begging them not to go through with it. He told them it would ruin everything, the source said, but Julie told him it was already ruined. The next chapter in this unfolding drama came unexpectedly. An anonymous email, allegedly from a former assistant, surfaced online. It detailed a moment during a private family vacation when Charlie's parents tried to reconcile. According to the account, Erika arranged for the family to stay at a luxury resort, promising it would be a fresh start, but within hours of arriving, tensions erupted. The email described a dinner where Erika reportedly accused Julie of resenting her success. Julie's response was sharp. "Success doesn't excuse cruelty," she said, her tone quiet but firm. Witnesses claimed that Charlie sat frozen between them, torn and pale. The argument grew until Erika left the table in tears. The next morning, she and Charlie checked out early, leaving Robert and Julie behind. That was the last family trip they ever took, the email concluded. When that story broke, fans were livid. Videos analyzing Erika's behavior flooded YouTube, some calling her controlling, others labeling the Kirks as jealous parents. One comment, which gained thousands of likes, read, "This isn't a marriage, it's a branding deal." Yet, even amid the online frenzy, a few voices urged caution, reminding everyone that only the Kirks truly knew what happened behind closed doors. Still, with every leaked detail, the distance between Charlie and his parents grew larger. Julie's next revelation was perhaps the most emotional of all. She claimed that after years of silence, she tried to send Charlie a letter, simple handwritten note, asking to meet for coffee. Just the two of them. Weeks later, the letter returned unopened with a note attached. "Boundaries are healthy." Julie said she immediately recognized Erika's handwriting. "I kept that note," she said, her eyes filling with tears. "It reminds me that my son didn't write it. Someone else did." The interviewer, visibly shaken, asked if she blamed Charlie for what happened. Julie shook her head. "I don't blame him. I blame the blindness that love can bring. I blamed the world that told him he had to choose between his image and his family." Robert placed a hand on hers as she spoke, silent but supportive. That single gesture, simple and human, moved viewers across the country. Even people who had previously criticized the Kirks began expressing sympathy. As the interview neared its end, the tone shifted from accusation to sorrow. "We don't want revenge," Robert said. "We just want our son back." Julie nodded. "And we want him to remember who he is, without the id. And we want him to remember who he is, without the noise." Her voice broke slightly as she added, "Because deep down, I know he's still there." That line became the headline everywhere. "We just want our son back." It echoed through talk shows, podcasts, and social media threads for days. Some celebrities weighed in, offering their own takes. One prominent commentator even tweeted, "This is what happens when fame becomes a family's third parent." Others accused the Kirks of exploiting private pain for public sympathy. But regardless of opinions, the story had captivated millions. What made things even more intense was the leak that followed 2 days later, a private voicemail from Charlie to his father, dated months before the interview. In it, Charlie's tone was calm but distant. "Dad, I need you to stop," he said. "This constant tension isn't helping anyone. Erika and I are trying to build something real, and I can't have negativity around me." Robert's response, which was later shared in the interview's extended version, was raw and unfiltered. "Negativity, son, that's called love when it doesn't agree with you." Fans replayed those words over and over, analyzing every pause, every breath. The voicemail felt like the first time the public truly heard the fracture in Charlie's voice. The days following the release were chaos. News outlets dissected every detail, tabloids speculated about separation, and former colleagues of Charlie began sharing cryptic posts hinting at a different side of the story. Through it all, Erika stayed silent. No interviews, no statements, just one carefully worded post on social media. "Truth doesn't need to be loud to be real." That single sentence reignited everything. Fans debated its meaning, some calling it defiance, others seeing it as guilt. But what no one knew then was that Robert and Julie weren't finished. The interview was only the beginning. According to sources close to the couple, they still had one final revelation, something that, in their words, would make people finally understand why we could never trust her. And as the nation waited, the anticipation turned electric. What could possibly be worse than everything they'd already revealed? Whatever it was, they promised it would leave everyone speechless. 2 nights after the interview aired, the Kirk family home in Wheaton became the center of a quiet storm. Reporters parked along the curb, fans gathered with cameras, and the glow of news vans flickered across the lawn. Inside, Robert and Julie sat in their dimly lit living room, surrounded by the hum of unanswered calls and unanswered questions. "It feels strange," Julie whispered. For years, nobody wanted to hear us. Now everyone does. Robert nodded, staring at the television where their own faces played back in slow motion. Truth, he muttered, has its own timing. But the calm didn't last long. Within hours, a new leak surfaced: an old email thread between Erika and one of Charlie's early political mentors. In it, Erika appeared to express concerns about keeping family distractions away from professional priorities. The tone was cold, almost corporate. Family dynamics must be managed strategically, she wrote, adding, emotional interference can damage credibility. Those words sent shockwaves across the internet. Too many. It was proof that Erika had not only distanced Charlie from his parents but had done so deliberately. Others argued the email was taken out of context. Whatever the truth, it reignited the debate. Fans dissected every word. Podcasts exploded with theories, and journalists began requesting interviews with anyone remotely connected to the Kirks. Former colleagues recalled subtle changes in Charlie's demeanor after his marriage, his increasing secrecy, his reluctance to mention his parents. One former staffer described a moment when Charlie paused during a meeting, looking down at his phone after a message from Erika. His whole mood changed, they said. He was confident one minute, hesitant the next. It was like he needed permission to breathe. As the controversy grew, the Kirk parents found themselves both vindicated and vulnerable. They had opened the floodgates, and now the current was uncontrollable. We never wanted it to go this far, Julie confessed to a friend. We just wanted honesty. But honesty, in the world of fame, has a price. Days later, a video appeared online showing Erika entering a studio, apparently preparing to record her own response. The caption read simply, her side. The internet went into a frenzy before her statement could air, though another twist emerged. A longtime family friend named Deborah Michaels came forward with a story that deepened the cracks even further. She claimed that years ago, before the wedding, Erika had approached her privately at a charity event. She asked me about Julie, Deborah said. She wanted to know what made her tick, what she feared, how she handled confrontation. It felt rehearsed, like she was studying her. Deborah's recollection fueled the image of Erika as calculating and composed, a woman who planned every move with precision. She was always polite, Deborah added, but behind that politeness was something colder. Meanwhile, Charlie's silence continued to puzzle everyone. Rumors swirled that he had left town, retreating from the chaos to reflect. Others claimed he and Erika were working with lawyers to contain the fallout. No one knew for sure. But in his absence, the narrative took on a life of its own. Talk shows labeled it the Kirk family implosion. Late-night hosts joked about the battle of beliefs turning into the battle of bloodlines. What had begun as a personal confession had become national spectacle. Julie tried to shield herself from the noise, but everywhere she turned, there were reminders, headlines, podcasts, even church whispers. She spent her mornings on the porch, sipping tea and staring at the trees. Do you think he'll forgive us? She asked Robert one morning. He hesitated before answering. Maybe not now, he said, but someday, when he realizes why we spoke, he will. Julie smiled faintly, though her eyes were tired. He used to call me his best friend, she whispered. As for Erika, when her long-awaited response finally aired, it came not as a televised interview but as a pre-recorded video posted to her social media. The production was immaculate: soft lighting, muted tones, carefully chosen words. This situation breaks my heart, she began, her voice calm but firm. I have always respected Charlie's parents, even when they did not respect me. I never tried to replace them. I only tried to protect my husband from environments that drained him emotionally. She paused, her gaze steady on the camera. Love is not control. Love is creating space where someone can thrive. If that space excluded certain people, it was never out of malice, it was out of care. The video divided the internet even more. Some called it manipulative, others praised her composure. But one moment in the video stood out, when Erika said, "Some people confuse access with affection." Many interpreted it as a direct jab at Julie. Within hours, Julie's supporters fired back online, accusing Erika of emotional gaslighting. The digital battlefield intensified. Robert, who had remained composed through most of the ordeal, finally broke his silence once more. During a phone interview, his tone was weary but resolute. "I don't care what people think of us," he said. "We're not perfect parents, but we know when love turns into control. I raised my son to speak truth to power. Now I just wish he'd speak truth to himself." Those words went viral almost instantly. Fans flooded the comments with messages like, "Robert's the only one being real. And this is deeper than politics, it's family warfare." But then, in a twist that no one anticipated, A recording surfaced, an audio clip from a private dinner attended by several mutual friends of the Kirks and the couple. In it, Erika could be heard saying, "They'll never see me as enough, no matter what I do, so I might as well be in control." The voice, though never officially confirmed, sounded unmistakably like hers. The clip spread across social media like wildfire. Influencers dissected it, news outlets replayed it, and analysts debated its authenticity. Whether real or not, it painted a portrait that fans couldn't unsee. The aftermath was devastating. Sponsors quietly distanced themselves from Charlie's brand, unsure how to navigate the family controversy. His team began releasing vague statements about privacy and healing. But it only fueled speculation that things behind the scenes were collapsing. Sources claimed Charlie had moved temporarily into a separate property to clear his head. One even said that he'd been seen alone, without his wedding ring. Meanwhile, Julie and Robert tried to retreat from the spotlight. But their words had already become legend in online circles. Podcasts analyzed their every phrase, armchair psychologists debated family trauma, and fans clung to every possible sign of reconciliation. "Do you think he'll call?" Julie asked one evening, staring at her phone. "Maybe," Robert said softly. "When all this noise dies down, maybe." But then, just when the narrative seemed too quiet, another layer surfaced, one that would send the story spiraling into new chaos. A former member of Erika's inner circle, who had worked with her on charitable projects, came forward anonymously. In an interview, the woman claimed that Erika had once boasted about restructuring Charlie's relationships for efficiency. The phrasing was chilling. "She didn't see people," the source said. "She saw patterns." She believed emotions were weaknesses to be managed. Though no hard evidence was provided, the accusation alone reignited the storm. The internet went into overdrive once more, dissecting Erika's old speeches, public statements, and even her interviews for hints of manipulation. Every gesture, every smile, every carefully chosen word became part of the puzzle, and somewhere in the chaos, Charlie's voice finally appeared briefly, quietly, in a single written post. "Families are complicated," he wrote. "Mine is no exception. I love my parents, I love my wife, and I won't choose between them. I ask everyone to give us space." It was a plea for peace, but it satisfied no one. Fans demanded answers, critics accused him of cowardice, and his parents remained silent, perhaps respecting his request. Yet behind the scenes, sources said the damage was already done. "The silence between them feels permanent," a friend of the family said. "There's too much pride, too much pain, and too many people watching." Still, there was one final piece of the story no one had yet heard, a revelation that Robert hinted at quietly in a follow-up interview. Something he described as the moment we realized we were never meant to trust her in the first place. He refused to elaborate, leaving fans desperate for what came next. Whatever it was, those who knew the Kirks promised that when it came out, it wouldn't just explain the family's distrust, it would redefine it entirely. The day Robert Kirk decided to share that final revelation, the air in the room felt heavy. The cameras were smaller this time, the lighting dimmer, but the tension was unmistakable. He sat alone at the start, his hands folded on the table, a glass of water beside him. For a few seconds, he didn't speak. The silence was deliberate, the kind that pulls an audience closer. "This isn't about hate," he said finally. "It's about clarity." His eyes were tired, but his tone was sharp. "We trusted someone who never came to us honestly, and I think it's time the world knows why." What he revealed next sent shockwaves far beyond political circles or family gossip. According to Robert, before Charlie and Erika married, there had been a private agreement Charlie's parents knew nothing about until years later. Erika, through her own media connections, had allegedly arranged a strategic alignment deal that tied her personal brand to Charlie's image. "It wasn't about love on paper," Robert said quietly. "It was about ownership." He paused, the words hanging in the air. "When we found out, we realized the relationship we thought was built on partnership was built on transaction." Viewers were stunned. The interview clip exploded across every social platform. Fans, who had once seen the couple as inseparable, began questioning whether their relationship had been authentic from the start. The revelation also reignited rumors that Charlie's public tone had shifted not from growth, but from influence. "The way he speaks now," one former mentor commented online, "it's like he's echoing her words, not his." The comments spread quickly, amplifying the sense that something deeper and more deliberate was at play. Julie, though not present, In this particular interview, later confirmed parts of Robert's story in a written statement. "I always felt like there were contracts in places where love should have been," she wrote. "He stopped being my son in moments, he became a brand to be managed." Her words, haunting and simple, drew sympathy even from those who had previously dismissed her. "A mother's heartbreak is the one headline no one wants to read," a journalist tweeted. Meanwhile, Erika's camp denied everything. Her spokesperson released a short, assertive statement: "There are no agreements, written or implied, beyond what exists in every professional household. These are baseless claims from individuals seeking attention." But the tone of that denial only fueled the fire. Fans began combing through public records, interviews, and old footage for anything resembling evidence. Online sleuths pointed out inconsistencies in how Erika described her career before meeting Charlie. Some claimed her resume didn't match public timelines. Others noticed how often she referenced strategy and structure when talking about relationships. As the frenzy grew, one forgotten figure suddenly re-entered the story: a former communications consultant named Brad Evans, who had briefly worked for Charlie's early team before Erika took over. When contacted by an independent reporter, Brad agreed to speak, saying, "There are things people don't know about how fast she moved in and took control." According to his account, Erika began attending private meetings uninvited, offering input on messaging and even suggesting who Charlie should or shouldn't engage with politically. "She was sharp," he said. "Too sharp. Everything was calculated." The clip of Brad's interview spread like wildfire. His description of Erika as the quiet puppeteer became a viral phrase. Fans turned it into memes, but beneath the humor was a current of genuine unease. "The quiet puppeteer," one viral tweet read, "is scarier than the loud manipulator. You never see her strings until you're tangled in them." Back at the Kirk home, Julie watched the chaos unfold with mixed emotions. Part of her felt vindicated. Another part felt hollow. "We didn't want this," she told a visiting friend. "We wanted peace, not proof." Robert agreed, though he knew there was no going back now. "Once the world tastes blood," he said grimly, "it doesn't stop biting." Things took an unexpected turn when an old friend of Erika's, speaking under anonymity, shared messages that seemed to confirm what Robert had implied. The screenshots showed Erika referring to Charlie's family as variables in need of management. In another message, she wrote, "Love can't be unconditional when legacy is on the line." Though the authenticity of the screenshots couldn't be verified, they sent the public into another spiral. Talk shows dissected every word, relationship experts analyzed her phrasing. And once again, the story became larger than the people in it. The emotional weight of it all began to show. During a rare public sighting, Charlie appeared withdrawn, his usual composure replaced with a visible wariness. When reporters shouted questions, he didn't answer, he just kept walking, eyes fixed ahead. "He looks lost," one journalist said afterward. "Like he's not sure who to believe anymore." Fans picked up on that too. Sympathy for Charlie began to grow, with some arguing that he had been caught between love and loyalty from the start. Julie, ever the mother, seemed to soften her tone as the backlash intensified. In a second interview, she said, "I don't hate Erika, I pity her. And I pity the world that teaches people to confuse control with care. Maybe she does love him in her way, but it's a love that costs too much." The line resonated everywhere, quoted on headlines and shared endlessly. Even those skeptical of the Kirks' motives admitted that Julie's pain felt genuine. As the media storm raged, something curious happened behind the scenes. An unnamed insider claimed that Erika had begun reaching out privately to close family members, not to apologize, but to clarify misunderstandings. These quiet phone calls reportedly left some relatives shaken. One cousin, speaking anonymously, said, "She's persuasive. She makes you question what you know. By the end of the call, you almost feel guilty for doubting her." Robert wasn't swayed. In his final on-camera moment of the interview, he looked directly into the lens and said, "When someone rewrites your family story long enough, you start to forget how it really sounded. That's what happened to us. And I won't let it happen again." His voice was steady, but his eyes glistened. The image of him firm, heartbroken, resolute became one of the most shared screenshots of the entire saga. Then came the twist that no one predicted. Late one Friday evening, an investigative blog released what it called the missing document. It claimed to have obtained a signed confidentiality agreement dated months before Charlie's engagement. Though names were redacted, The context implied it was between Erika and a media consultant representing the Kirk family brand. The agreement mentioned image management, narrative alignment, and partnership positioning. Fans went wild. "This proves it," some shouted online, while others dismissed it as forged. But the damage was done. The idea that love had been negotiated before vows were even exchanged was enough to change public perception permanently. Erika's response was swift but measured. "I have nothing to hide," she posted. "What I do have is the burden of being misunderstood by people who prefer drama over truth." Her supporters praised her composure, calling her a victim of public bullying. Her critics called it deflection. Either way, the battle lines were redrawn. Julie and Robert, meanwhile, retreated from public view, refusing further interviews. Their final statement was brief: "We've said our truth. We hope, one day, our son will understand why." It was signed by both of them, written in ink, posted quietly without press or cameras. But even as they stepped away, the internet refused to let the story fade. Theories kept evolving, some dark, some absurd. Every silence from Charlie or Erika became a new clue. Every old photo, a potential symbol. And then, after weeks of relentless speculation, Charlie finally appeared on camera. It wasn't a speech or a press conference, just a live stream from his office. He looked tired, older, quieter. "People forget that behind all of this," he said, "there's a family. Families fight. Families heal, or at least, they try." He paused, eyes downcast. "I've made choices I thought were right. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they hurt people I loved, but I'm still learning." For the first time, his voice cracked. "To my parents," he added softly, "if you're watching this, I hear you." The stream ended there. No explanation, no follow-up. Yet those words, "I hear you," echoed louder than any headline. It was the first sign of a bridge, however fragile, forming again between son and parents. Fans cried. Commentators called it the redemption moment, and even Julie reportedly broke down in tears when she saw it. But the real question, the one no one could answer, was whether that bridge could survive everything that had been said, exposed, and broken. Because behind the public spectacle, behind the interviews and accusations, there was still one undeniable truth. Love had turned into strategy, and family had turned into story. And no one, not Charlie, not Erika, not his parents, seemed entirely sure how to turn it back. The morning after Charlie's live stream, the internet felt like it was holding its breath. For the first time in months, there was a glimmer of something that felt human in the chaos. News anchors replayed his trembling words, fans flooded timelines with sympathy, and even critics admitted that the tone had changed. "That didn't sound like a man defending himself," one commentator said. "That sounded like a man trying to come home." Julie watched the clip alone at first. She had woken early, unable to sleep, and found the live stream still trending. Her tea went cold as she listened. "If you're watching this, I hear you." The words hit her like a wave. She rewound them 3 times, just to be sure she hadn't imagined it. When Robert came into the room, she didn't speak, she just handed him the tablet. He watched in silence, then set it down gently. "That's our boy," he said, his voice low. "He's still in there." For the first time in years, Julie smiled. Not the forced smile she'd worn in interviews, but a real one, the kind that came from hope. But hope was fragile. Within hours, Erika posted again. "He's exhausted," she wrote, "and we ask for privacy while we focus on peace." Though calm in tone, many fans interpreted the message as controlling, an attempt to reassert narrative control. Others defended her fiercely, saying she was simply protecting her husband. Online debates reignited, this time more vicious than ever. Entire channels were devoted to dissecting her word choices, body language, and timing. Every time he tries to reach out, one viral comment read, "She wraps him right back up." Behind the scenes though, something had shifted. According to a family friend, Julie and Robert received an unexpected call 2 days later from Charlie himself. The conversation was brief, hesitant, but real. "He sounded tired," Julie told the friend afterward, "but he said he missed us." She paused before adding, "And he said he wanted to see us, just the 3 of us. No cameras." That one sentence spread like wildfire once leaked. Suddenly, the public wasn't watching a feud anymore. They were watching the start of a possible reconciliation. Their meeting took place quietly, at a private estate outside Phoenix. No paparazzi, no statements. But somehow, word still got out. An employee at a nearby restaurant claimed to have seen them together. "They looked tense at first," she said. "The mom was crying. The dad kept his hand on her shoulder. The son just looked lost, like he didn't know which world he belonged to anymore." For hours, the internet spun stories about what was said in that meeting, though no one truly knew. All that was confirmed came days later when Julie posted a single photo: 3 coffee cups on a table, no faces, no captions. Just that. The image went viral instantly. Still, reconciliation didn't mean resolution. Even as fans celebrated the reunion, another twist hit the headlines. An investigative reporter released a detailed exposé, claiming to have uncovered internal emails from within Erika's charity organization. While nothing illegal was shown, the emails hinted at aggressive public image tactics, coordinated influencer partnerships, and strategic media pushes surrounding Charlie's public appearances. One message allegedly stated, "Perception management is our most important investment." Though it wasn't clear who authored that line, the damage was immense. Critics claimed it reinforced everything the Kirk parents had said. Charlie, once again, found himself cornered. His silence this time lasted a week, but when he finally spoke, his tone was measured. "People talk about truth as if it's simple," he said during a podcast appearance. "But truth is layered. My wife has supported me in ways no one sees. My parents love me in ways no one understands. And I'm caught in between 2 versions of love that keep pulling me apart." His honesty surprised everyone. Fans praised him for showing vulnerability, though his refusal to take sides left both camps unsettled. Erika, perhaps realizing public sentiment was shifting, changed her approach. She began appearing in interviews where she spoke less like a public figure and more like a wife under pressure. "I never meant to hurt anyone," she told one interviewer. "When you marry someone in the public eye, you don't get to just be a partner, you become part of the brand. I did my best to protect what we built together." For the first time, her voice cracked. It wasn't the flawless composure fans were used to. It was raw, even uncertain. That vulnerability softened some critics, though others called it a calculated performance. Meanwhile, Robert and Julie continued to stay quiet publicly, but private sources claimed they were slowly rebuilding trust with their son. "He visits now," one friend said. "Not often, but he comes by. They talk about normal things again. It's not like before, but it's a start." Fans clung to that detail. Some even began using the hashtag he is coming home. It trended for days. Still, the public wasn't done dissecting. Podcasts, tabloids, and influencers kept digging, desperate for one more twist. One claimed that Erika had been negotiating a documentary deal before the controversy erupted. Another suggested that the Kirk parents were working on a memoir of their own. Both rumors were denied, but the speculation alone kept the story alive. People were no longer watching a political figure, they were watching a modern family drama unfold in real time, complete with betrayal, redemption, and unanswered questions. In a rare quiet moment, Julie reflected on everything during an off-record chat with a reporter she trusted. "People keep asking if we regret speaking out," she said softly. "And maybe part of me does. But silence was killing us too. Sometimes love means saying the thing that breaks you." The reporter noted that her eyes filled with tears, but her tone stayed steady. "You can't heal in a lie," she said, "and our family lived in one for too long." As weeks turned into months, the public obsession finally began to cool. New scandals replaced old ones, new headlines stole attention, but the Kirk's story didn't disappear, settled into the background of collective memory. Like an unresolved song that still hums faintly after it ends, fans would still revisit the old clips, the interviews, the photo of the coffee cups. Some believed healing was real, others believed it was temporary. Then, unexpectedly, a small clip surfaced, grainy, filmed on a phone. It showed Charlie and his parents walking out of a small diner, laughing softly. No cameras, no entourage, no drama, just a family. Together. The video lasted only 12 seconds, but it went viral within hours. People called it the moment everything came full circle. One comment summed up what millions were thinking. After all the lies, the fights, the manipulation, this is what matters. But Erika was nowhere in that clip, and that absence reignited everything. Where was she? Fans demanded. Why wasn't she there? Some claimed it was proof of separation, others insisted she was giving Charlie space to reconnect. Her only response came in the form of a quiet post later that night, a single candle burning in the dark. Captioned, "Sometimes love stands back so light can find its way home." The image was poetic, almost haunting. Some called it beautiful, others saw it as an admission. Whatever it meant, one thing was clear, the story wasn't over. Reconciliation might have begun, but the fractures were still visible. Love had returned. Yes, but trust was another matter. In private, Julie said it best to a friend, "I don't want to win. I just want my son to stop hurting." And somewhere, between truth and silence, between image and love, the Kirk family was still trying to find a way to exist again, not as a headline, not as a brand, but as a family. And though the world had moved on to the next spectacle, those who followed every moment of the saga knew it wasn't done. Not really, because even after forgiveness, the question remained, had the damage already gone too deep? Or would the Kirk family's story become one of the rare ones that actually ended with peace? And now, after everything, the tears, the accusations, the buried secrets, and the late-night reconciliations, the Kirk family stands at a crossroads that no headline can fully capture. What began as a whisper between estranged parents and a frustrated son turned into one of the most explosive family dramas in recent public memory. But beneath the noise and speculation, something raw remains: the reminder that even the most powerful, public families can fracture under the quiet weight of pride, silence, and unspoken pain. When Julie Kirk spoke those first trembling words, she never imagined the tidal wave it would unleash. She only wanted her son to know that she still loved him, even when the world made her feel like an enemy in her own story. And when Charlie finally said, "If you're watching this, I hear you," it was more than a statement, it was a moment that millions of people felt in their bones. Every parent who's been shut out, every child caught between love and loyalty, saw themselves reflected in that one fragile line. The truth, however, remains complicated. Has forgiveness truly taken root, or has it simply been rehearsed for the cameras? Has Erika found her redemption, or is she still shaping her narrative behind the scenes? Only time can answer those questions. And maybe that's what makes this story so haunting. It refuses to give anyone a clean ending. Every apology feels half complete. Every smile seems shadowed by memory. Every gesture of peace carries the echo of old pain. In one of her final private letters, which surfaced quietly through a close friend, Julie wrote, "We all make gods out of people who are only trying to figure themselves out. I did that with my son. He did that with his wife. And maybe that's where we all went wrong." Those words cut deep because they ring true far beyond her family. The Kirk saga isn't just about public figures. It's about how people love imperfectly, protect fiercely, and sometimes destroy what they meant to save. The most recent footage of the family, Charlie laughing softly with his parents outside that small diner, offered a glimmer of hope that even the deepest wounds might heal, given enough time and truth. And yet, the absence of Erika in that moment keeps the air thick with unanswered questions. Is she waiting in the background, ready to rebuild quietly? Or has she chosen to step away for good, knowing that some relationships can't survive the glare of the spotlight? Fans can't decide. And maybe that's why the story still feels alive. Social media remains divided. Half the internet sees Erika as a misunderstood woman crushed by the weight of public scrutiny. The other half believes she orchestrated the entire narrative from day one. Hashtags rise and fall. Hashtag stand with Erika. Hashtag team Julie. Hashtag Charlie Hoyspit. The truth seems to drift somewhere in between. Through it all, Charlie continues to appear reserved, reflective, almost haunted by the weight of everyone's expectations. He's no longer the sharp-tongued commentator the world once knew. Instead, he's a man caught between two kinds of loyalty, the one he chose and the one that made him. His last words in that quiet live stream still echo: "Families fight, families heal, or at least, they try." Simple, but piercing. And maybe, in the end, that's what everyone relates to. The Kirk story isn't just about politics, betrayal, or control. It's about what happens when people stop recognizing each other and start speaking through wounds instead of love. It's about how truth can feel like a weapon, even when it's meant to heal. As this chapter closes, fans are left questioning what comes next. Will Julie and Robert write the memoir that many suspect they're already drafting in private? Will Erika release her own version of events in a glossy interview or documentary? Will Charlie ever sit down with both sides on camera and finally tell his own truth, unfiltered and unedited? Or will the family quietly disappear from the public eye, trying to rebuild what fame and silence together nearly destroyed? The mystery of it all keeps audiences hooked. People want to believe in closure, but they also crave the tension of not knowing. It's human nature to want peace, but still peek at the storm. And the Kirk family, for better or worse, gave the world both. So if you followed this saga from the very beginning, the interviews, the leaks, the confessions, the midnight posts, you know how deep it runs. You've watched a family that looked picture perfect unravel thread by thread. Then try, with trembling hands, to weave something whole again. You've seen a mother's heartbreak, a father's disappointment, a son's confusion, and a wife's quiet fury. And through every twist, you've felt that same unspoken question press against the story's edge. Can love survive when truth finally comes out? That's the question that still lingers tonight. Maybe Charlie and his parents will find peace behind closed doors, where no lens can capture their faces. Maybe Erika will return, changed and humbled, ready to rebuild what was nearly lost. Or maybe each of them will walk separate paths, carrying their own version of the truth. Whatever happens next, one thing is certain: the world will be watching, because no matter how much time passes, stories like this never truly fade. They become part of our collective memory, whispered in podcasts, revisited in documentaries, reshared whenever the internet needs to remember how fragile public love can be. And if you've made it this far, ask yourself, whose side are you really on? Are you with the parents who risked everything to speak what they believed was truth? Or with the wife who fought to protect her marriage from judgment? Or maybe, like most of us, you're somewhere in between, trying to make sense of it all. Either way, your voice matters in this conversation, so don't stay silent now. Leave a comment below and tell us what you think really happened between Charlie, Erika, and his parents. Was Erika misunderstood or masterful? Were Julie and Robert brave or bitter? And do you think this family can ever truly heal? Or has too much been said to go back? We want to hear your thoughts. And if you believe that truth, no matter how painful, is always worth facing, then hit that like button right now. It tells us you were moved by this story and that you want to see more deep, untold truths like this one brought to light. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another breakdown of the stories everyone's whispering about but no one's telling like this. Every week, we bring you the twists, the secrets, and the revelations that keep the world watching. Because in the end, stories like this aren't just gossip, they're reflections of who we are. They remind us how fragile trust can be, how love and ambition can blur until no one remembers where one ends and the other begins. They remind us that even the people who seem the strongest can crack under the pressure of silence. So keep watching, keep questioning, and keep remembering that behind every perfect photo and polished smile, there's a truth waiting to surface. This has been one of those truths, raw, messy, human, and the next one might be even closer to home than you think. Until then, stay tuned, stay curious, and stay awake to the stories that show how even the most powerful families can fall apart when love turns into legacy. Hit like, drop your thoughts, and subscribe for more untold stories that will leave you speechless.